20 years ago, it was the most ambitious photography project ever attempted. Next on Irvine Scene, an exhibition documenting the journey of the great picture. The newest art exhibition at Irvine City Hall tells the story of the visionaries who set out to make the world's largest print photograph. An opening reception marked the 20th anniversary of the Great Picture.
The joke that we made was, this is either going to work and we're going to have something to be proud of, or we're going to have a lot of explaining to do.
More than a year of planning came down to just one night to get it right.
And even the night that we did it, there was still major trepidation. We could have fallen on our faces very easily.
But 20 years later, the Great Picture still holds a Guinness World Record at 3 stories tall and 11 stories wide. The actual masterpiece isn't here. After touring the globe, it's being carefully stored, awaiting a permanent venue.
The Great Picture, which of course is too large to hang here and exhibit, has been on the road for the last 20 years. It's with extended stays in Beijing. It's also been at the Smithsonian Institute, and to name a few prestigious institutions.
If we had known what we were getting ourselves into, this probably would have never happened, but it just grew organically from there.
Right, and then what you're going to be doing is right about the middle, you're going to be stepping onto the right.
When photography professor Clayton Spada appealed to members of the Legacy Project back in 2006, this group of 6 photographers took on the challenge of turning an old aircraft hangar at El Toro into the world's largest camera. The aim was to capture an old runway and control tower sitting quietly vacant.
From the time of conception of this idea and pitching it to the time where we actually started working, took 10 months of planning and everything, and then another almost 3 months of making the hangar light tight.
I think what's most significant about the Great Picture and its aesthetic, just purely visual, is you can tell that its subject has to do with history because of the media. You know, it's a black and white photograph. It's got this very human touched quality because of the way the emulsion was applied.
We had to come up with also how to process this on site in the hangar. So in addition to making the world's largest photo with the world's largest pinhole camera, we had to build the world's largest developing tank.
9 plus 3, we have 12 buckets
We're
left.
just going to be able to make this, just like I said.
Exhibits on all 3 floors of the Civic Center show what it took behind the scenes. It was Adam's job to come up with descriptions of the complicated chemical processes.
Each one highlights a step of the process of making an analog photograph that's 111 feet by 31 feet tall. So it's a very complex process, but we try to distill it down to layman's terms. Because of the analog photography process, you're using a lot of light-sensitive material, and then you're also up against time. So it took 400 volunteers, and they all had to apply the light-sensitive emulsion at once.
We consulted experts from all over the world on pinhole photography, on everything from the optimal aperture size to how long is it going to take.
This was truly a remarkable collaborative effort with broad community support and hundreds of volunteers. A delicious combination of magic, chemicals and madness, blending old school and modern technologies, was used to create this amazing picture for posterity.
The story of El Toro, the story of the artistic endeavors associated with El Toro, with our great park, with our great picture. A wonderful story of people coming together, preserving an important memory, which in turn is a legacy for future generations.
This project reminds us that art can do more than document a place. It can preserve a memory, inspire imagination, and help communities reflect on how they evolve over time.
And obviously, because it's just such a large-scale, ambitious project, it's not a perfectly crisp image, right? It's a negative of an image. So all of those things put together not only represent an artifact and history, but the subject itself.
This 20-year anniversary also coincides with a time when cell phones were launching the ease of digital photography.
We're almost 20 years now into having smartphones as a society, and so the process of analog photography is a little bit lost on the majority of people.
Preserving the legacy of El Toro, as well as the very roots of analog photography, now the challenge for the Great Picture is to find a permanent home. It will need a dedicated, climate-controlled space roughly the size of a small airplane hangar, which fittingly is where it all began.
Today, the Great Picture lies not far from here, sleeping in temporary storage, restlessly, without a permanent home. With thanks to everyone who's taken the time to be here today, it is my hope that you will agree. This exhibit, and of course the Great Picture itself, deserve a permanent home.
I love seeing it celebrated, and I would love to see it stay in the city of Irvine if possible and find a home for it in perpetuity, because it's just an amazing accomplishment.
Very few people have actually seen the real thing. Globally, it got known digitally on little cell phones and on the internet. Very few people have seen the real thing.
I think its place in photographic history requires that it has a life to continue, and that this is why we need to find a permanent home for it. It's something that needs to be seen and appreciated because it's different. The technology at which this is done is never used anymore. Historically, photographically, it has huge implications. It needs to be seen.
The Great Picture exhibition will be on display at City Hall through December 11th. For Irvine Scene, this is Valerie Starn reporting.